Good evening. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Monday, April 8th, 2019. The Portland Board of Public Education is meeting in Casco Bay High School in the Great Space. May I please ask the superintendent to call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Atkinson?
Here.
Mr. Balfont?
Here.
Ms. Bondo?
Présent.
Ms. Figdor?
Here.
Ms. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Morioni?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Ms. Trevorrow?
Here.
Mr. Inabanza? Mr. Norris?
Here.
Ms. Power-Rakowski? Mr. Samuntu?
Présent.
And Mr. Abdirahman? And Chair Rodriguez.
Presente. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Where's our flag go?
It's our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to consider the approval of the superintendent's recommended budget. Therefore, the only item of business will be our old business. We will, however, at the end of our meeting, open the floor for public comment for those who wish to speak. Consideration and action to approve the FY20 budget in the amount of $117,833,270. Is there a motion? Ms. Trevorrow, second by Mr. Atkinson. Will the superintendent please speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tonight, I am asking that you approve our proposed 2020 budget in the amount of $117,833,270. The $117.8 million budget is up $7.2 million or 6.5% over FY19. If approved tonight, it will raise the overall school tax rate by 61 cents to $11.75, an increase of just over 5.4%. The school portion of the annual tax bill for the average home in Portland, valued at $240,000, would increase by about $146 or just over $12 a month. This proposed budget was approved by the Finance Committee unanimously on March 28th. The Finance Committee approved budget is about $40,000 more than what I proposed on March 19th. The increase will support the continuation of our pre-KK classroom at Peaks Elementary School. Beyond that, the budget preserves our current programming and accommodates increases associated with meeting our contractual obligations and the normal escalation of costs. Additionally, $2.6 million of the increase, so approximately 22 cents or about a third of the proposed tax levy increase, is dedicated to providing enhanced programming in 3 areas directly aligned with our Portland Promise equity achievement and whole student goals. Specifically, the budget allows us to continue the expansion of high-quality 4-year-old pre-kindergarten programming. Universal Pre-K has been a district priority since 2011. Over the past 3 years, however, the district has not increased offerings due to budget concerns first and subsequently at my request, while we worked across the community to study the alignment of capacity and needs. If approved, the expansion will allow us to create 2 additional classrooms in Portland Public Schools, convert positions currently operated by community partners into PPS positions, and provide before and after care to students enrolled in our pre-kindergarten programs. This budget allows us to continue to invest in core instruction. As you know, for quite some time, the district has not prioritized ensuring quality and consistency in our core educational programming. Last year, through some timely investments, largely through federal and philanthropic investments under the leadership of Assistant Superintendent Malia Nally, we've been able to change that. A thoughtful adoption of a new middle school mathematics program with intensive implementation supports, a pilot of social studies curriculum focused on Wabanaki studies, and leveraging of a teacher leader sabbatical to support elementary science instruction have allowed us to make the case for the value of those types of investments. Our proposed investment this year allows us to continue those efforts, expand to elementary mathematics, and adopt and support a phonics curriculum in the elementary grades, among other things. The investments are almost exclusively investments in teacher professional development and materials. Finally, this budget allows us to provide a continuum of behavioral health supports to students with emotional and behavioral challenges. Over the past 30 years that I've been in education, nothing is more noticeable than the prevalence of students that are dealing with pervasive social emotional delays from trauma, health impairments, or family circumstances. These students have incredible potential. However, it takes a great deal of skill and intensive support to realize this potential. PPS has had intensive supports through its West program and more recently through Bayside. However, when we carefully evaluated the success of our efforts, it was clear that there were elements of support that were missing. Among them, a strong behavioral support structure in every classroom was needed. Through last year's investments in social emotional learning and clinical supports, we have begun to make headway in that area. The other clear need was an intermediate support structure between students in classrooms with one-on-one supports and Bayside. The proposed BREATHE program provides that intermediate step. This important investment is the largest of our 3 new investments, but is heavily offset with expected Maine Care reimbursements. In addition to these 3 large investments, there are a handful of other increases associated with important program enhancements, such as refreshed computers for our elementary teachers, increased logistical and management support for our special education departments and Peak Island School, the continuation of our community eligibility program at our 4 highest poverty schools, and an investment designed to allow us to fully staff our transportation department. As you know, last year we had a challenging budget process. In our post-budget reflection, you made it clear that we needed to work more closely together, administration and board. You asked that we establish a clear connection between our investments and our goals. You asked that we take care to engage deliberately and deliberatively with the City Council. You asked that we engage in a deep and systematic review of our current programming and facilities use to identify possible reductions to our district footprint. And you asked that we work collaboratively with city and state leaders to promote increased funding for local schools. I believe we've done a good job of this. As we sat in the Finance Committee over the past few weeks, and when we met with the city's Finance Committee last Thursday, it was clear that we have met the first and second assignment. We've also completed the enrollment and facility study, which has shed new insights into the district and outlined directions for future study. And we continue to work with the Portland Legislative Delegation and our City Legislative Committee to promote new revenue streams and a full recognition of the state's responsibility to adequately fund our schools. We ought not take any of this for granted. It has been hard work, and it will continue to be hard work. The facility study work continues, and the legislature has not yet come through. But I am convinced that we have a solid budget that retains the programming that Portland expects and invests in the type of activities that hold promise to close achievement gaps and attract families seeking a great educational experience in a diverse community. Thank you for your wisdom and advocacy throughout this year as we've made our way to this point today. So with that, I would ask for the board to act on this budget request.
Thank you, Superintendent. Are there any questions on the motion? If there are no questions on the motion, we'll move on to any public comment on the motion. If anyone wants to speak to the board, please come in, or rather come up to the podium.
It's all staff.
I know that. Seeing none, we'll move on to board discussion. Does anybody like to make any comments before we move to a vote? Ms. Morioni?
First, I want to say thank you to our superintendent and to your staff who worked tirelessly. As most of you know, it's my 11th year on the board. It's a great time when we can finally connect our strategic plan directly to our budget and the dollar amounts, and we can point exactly to where it connects to our goals and our strategic plan. It hasn't always been the case, and I think now we have something that's defendable, something that we're going to be monitoring, evaluating. We seem to have a very clear approach now of how we are going to be able to, again, measure the progress with each of these things. And to invest in our teachers is always beneficial at the end of the day, because they're the front and center with our students. And I'm very proud to know that we're moving forward on pre-K again, and that we are moving on the social emotional learning piece. Those are critical pieces for me, so I really appreciate all the hard work by you, Superintendent Botana, and again, our staff. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Thank you. And I must say thank you to our finance chair and the finance team. I have not been attending any of the finance meetings, but yet been observing and honestly feel very secure in this decision tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other board discussion? Mr. Atkinson?
I would just pile on a little bit of thanks to staff. I think it's really telling that we have no questions at this point, that round of the process went silent, and I think it speaks to how well prepared we were as a board coming into this. I was thinking back to our curriculum committee last year when we were talking about some of these core instruction investments, some of these holes in the budget where we really needed to invest with Assistant Superintendent Nally. So I think it's been a really great process, and I'm very excited to move forward with some of the enhanced programming, as Superintendent phrased it earlier. Thank you.
Ms. Bondo?
Now, I would just like to echo all my board members, but the main joy that I can just come out just because the diversity is not anymore on the surface, like we see reflecting to the community, but we see around the investment that we're doing right now. With the pre-K, then we're investing for the different communities, can really create those achievements, try to reduce those achievement gap, to give the value to different communities and culture behind what we're doing right now. And I'm so pleased to be part on the achievement and we're doing now, because it's not going to be just a short term, it's going to be a long-term process where we can see the result for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Victor?
Thank you. And I would definitely like to echo the thanks to Chair Trevorrow, to the superintendent, and to all the staff for really excellent work. And I also feel that we are very prepared and really fully understand what's in this budget, as well as the trade-offs that some of the key trade-offs that we considered. And I'm proud of the budget, but I do think it's really the minimum of what we need to get on the path as envisioned in the Portland Promise to enable every child, including those living in poverty and kids of color, to succeed. It's gut-wrenching to me that only 22% of kids of color are at or above grade level in math, and only 35% are at or above grade level in English. However, we have the plan and the school leadership to really turn this around and give every child a real shot. And we know from recent elections that Portlanders want good schools and are willing to invest in them. And I'm confident that voters will approve this budget if the City Council gives us the opportunity. There's so much, so that said, there's so much more that we could do with additional resources. I know the superintendent has his own ideas. Top of mind for me are the following. So first, I think we should be expanding pre-K much more rapidly. Portland is 10 years behind the rest of the state in terms of the portion of our 4-year-olds who are able to attend high-quality public pre-K. And we know that high-quality public pre-K can be a game changer for kids and schools and communities, including our own community. And yet it's going to take us 5 years just to enable us to reach 50% of 4-year-olds in Portland and enable those that 50% of kids to attend our public pre-K program. Second, we're eliminating 5 elementary school teacher positions in this budget, which will leave us on the high end of the range of what we say is acceptable for our teacher-to-student ratios. And we'll have to really carefully watchdog enrollment to keep class sizes from getting too big. And then third, we've reduced the length of the school year by 2 days, purely because of budget constraints, which I believe is going in the wrong direction. And then lastly, there's a lot more we need to do to support teachers, including ongoing professional development throughout the school year. This is, that said, we made a lot of trade-offs, and I fully believe that this is the budget we need to get our schools on track while making very targeted investments to improve equity and achievement by overhauling, really, the structure and slowly expanding pre-K, by improving special education, and by developing a shared curriculum across the schools. I think it's a very strategic budget and will take a big step forward in enabling us to achieve the Portland Promise. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
I would like to echo many of my colleagues and thank the superintendent for the hard work and staff for support and the hard work that they've done. I'm pleased to be continuing pre-K, including Peaks Island, and expanding our pre-K. I wish we could do it more quickly, but I think that we are trying to strike a balance. And I think that the two things that we've really put as our major initiatives, pre-K and the Breathe program, are really the right ones. I spent time this weekend talking with my daughter-in-law, who is a social worker in a similar classroom in Schenectady, New York. And I have a sister who is in a similar kind of situation, provides similar services in Augusta. And so I hear firsthand about the difficulties in other districts of working with the children who are most at risk and really very much at risk for falling through the cracks, and that the number of children and the severity of the issues that children are often dealing with at younger and younger ages is really there. It's not what I remember of school from many, many years ago. Things have changed, as the superintendent said. I think as a board, however, we do have to find a balance, because I also have heard from constituents who are very concerned about taxes and about being able to stay in their homes. This tax increase is more than the increase they will experience in their Maine state retirement, and we've heard from retired teachers. I know, because some of those went to all of the board, and more than Social Security. And we want to have a community that is made up of a wide diversity of ages, economic backgrounds, as well as ethnic and other kinds of diversity. And so I think as a board, we are challenged to find that right spot of working to increase and improve our education, to strengthen it, because I actually believe we have excellent education in Portland. My children went through school here, and I have 3 very good examples of the excellent education that can be received in Portland Public Schools. And so I don't want anyone to feel that we aren't already doing a good job. What we're trying to do is to do an even better job, and especially for those who are most at risk. And I think this budget sort of hits that sweet spot for the moment between increasing taxes and improving services. And I think it will be an ongoing challenge. It has been a challenge for the board, and it will continue to be a challenge, so that Portland remains an affordable place to live throughout a resident's life cycle, that they can indeed retire here. I have met so many people who have retired and left Portland, and I feel sad for that. I mean, from the gentleman who drove me home from the car dealership the other day when my car was in for repair. Yep, I used to live in Portland, but we've retired and moved to Westbrook because the taxes are half. So we need to have everyone here in Portland, young folks moving in, are retired and older folks staying, so that we have a dynamic and robust community. And I think finding that balance between strengthening our schools and our education and listening to the concerns of our folks on fixed incomes is going to be the challenge in this budget season as the council looks at this budget and for the board in the future. But I am very happy tonight to be able to vote for this budget. I look forward to doing so in hopefully a few minutes.
Anyone else? Mr. Earl?
So I don't know what else there is to add. I agree with all my colleagues' sentiments tonight, and also echo the thank you to our superintendent and to Alicia and all the staff that worked on this budget. I know a lot of hard work went into it. We had a very smooth process this year, so much so that at times I've thought it was too good to be true, and have become a little bit apprehensive in that mindset. But I think, the council expressed to us at our last joint finance committee meeting that they were very pleased with the process, pleased with the information that we presented. They're seeing their budget for the first time tonight, so they kind of have to express that they would have to look at everything as a whole before they could kind of fully comment on our budget. But I think that we presented from sometime during last summer what our goals were going to be in this budget. And it's, like Lori said, we offer a great education in Portland Public Schools, and I think this board has expressed a want to do really what we've never done before and address the achievement gaps that have been with this district for many, many, many years. So I think we're doing that strategically in this budget, and this is a budget that we can all be proud of. So I'm happy to support it tonight.
Anyone else? I'll add on my end same sentiments to thank superintendent and staff for all the work, members of the finance committee for preparing us for tonight and doing so much hard work and such deep diving into these investments that the superintendent has proposed. I think we've done an incredibly good job at learning lessons from last year's process and applying them, not just through this process this last few months, but literally after we passed our budget last year, we immediately got to work on these investments, and we've done a really great job at preparing to pass this budget tonight. I do want to add something that I did not hear my colleagues mention in their comments. I agree that Portland Public Schools does offer a great educational experience. My 10-year-old daughter, my 5th grader in Lycett, she's experiencing it. She's had an amazing 5 years so far, and I expect that to continue. She will proudly graduate from Portland Public Schools, and like I said, I expect that to be a great experience. But my daughter and families like mine, and probably families like the ones that are sitting here tonight, are the ones that we serve, right, and the ones that succeed. We hear from these people. They're the ones that email us. They're the ones that show up to our meetings and testify. The ones that we don't hear from are the ones that we're investing in tonight. Families from our disadvantaged communities are the ones that have a full plate already, and we don't get to hear from them. We don't hear from our homeless students, right? We don't hear from these disadvantaged communities. It's our job to stand here and advocate from them. It's our job to come in here and strongly advocate for these types of investments that will have a direct effect in their lives and will extend that amazing opportunity that Portland Public Schools offers to everybody. And when we talk about achievement and opportunity gaps, this is how we fix them. This is how we address them. And it's up to us to say it loudly and to say it proudly. So after we pass this budget tonight, it's no longer the superintendent's proposed budget. It's the school board's budget. We own this. And then we have to then be the face of it. And when people come up, and because we still have another couple of weeks, another few weeks before it gets up to referendum in June. So up until that time, we're the ones that own this. We're the ones that have to advocate for these investments. And we're the ones that have to proudly stand up for it. I'm going to put this up to a vote right now, and I said this a few weeks ago when we had members of the PEA speak at our meetings, that when we vote to represent our values. So as we're about to cast our votes for this budget, I want you guys to strongly think about the values that we're advancing through this budget and be proud of it, because we should be incredibly proud about what we're about to do. We're going to transform this district. Having said that, all those in favor of approving the FY20 budget in the amount of $117,833,270, please indicate. It's unanimous with the students voting with the majority. Ms. Thompson, you had a question.
I just love seeing that smile come across your face after we put you through the last 3 years. I was wondering if you could speak briefly for those watching what the next steps are and where we go from here.
Yes, the budget, as Chair Rodriguez said, the board's budget goes before the city council on the 22nd, and then it is referred back to the city's finance committee, I believe, on the 25th. And Alicia, help me with this. I think it comes back, there is a public hearing scheduled on May 6th. So between the 25th and May 6th, there will be more process in the city's finance committee. Is that correct?
The city finance committee can choose to hear sort of the budget and refer it back to the city council in one night, but they may choose to add additional meetings in between. But first reading and public hearing is May 6th, and the second and final reading is May 20th.
And that's with the council?
That's with the city council.
Okay. Great. And then the, once it makes it out of city council, it is scheduled for June 11th vote, community vote.
Can we just make sure, I know the calendar is on the website, but just make sure that those dates and times are really clear for people.
I think we updated those today to
Wonderful.
reflect that. So.
Thank you very much.
So our next item, consideration and action to approve the vote entitled Vote to Approve Submission of School Budget with Additional Local Funds in Form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included in the minutes of this meeting. Is there a motion? Ms. Trevorrow, second by Ms. Thompson. Would the superintendent speak to the motion?
I don't have anything to add to that. Alicia, is there anything I'm supposed to add to that?
No, this
I
is
don't
just
have that.
statutorily required that we
that's what
vote
I
on the
thought.
additional local.
Excellent. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none. Any public comment on the motion? Still all staff, huh? Seeing none. Any board discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the vote entitled Vote to Approve Submission of the School Budget with Additional Local Funds in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included in the minutes of this meeting, please indicate. It's unanimous with the students voting in favor. And given that it's
Quick comment before you go to public comment. Because I also want to take a moment to thank our team. I'd like to give a special thanks to Alicia Gardner and her finance team, because they've worked tirelessly to pull together all of the information that has been the work of the finance committee and the board. Alicia, I'm so grateful for your partnership. Finance offices don't get a very good rap. They're not known to be the most exciting places. But your commitment to understanding the why for everything that we are doing, and your ability to make and take complex material and make it comprehensible is truly remarkable. So thank you. And I also want to thank the rest of my team, Malia, Grace, Jeannie, Mustafa, and Barb, and all of their direct reports, including our amazing building leaders, for the hard work that they've put together to make this ambitious and coherent plan to advance our educational agenda. So thank you, guys.
So given that it's well before the hour of 10 p.m., is there any public comment on any items not in this evening's agenda? Still stuff. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. And is there a motion to adjourn the business meeting? Ms. Davis, second by Ms. Figdor. All those in favor, please indicate. Unanimous with the students voting in favor.